I'm kind of pitching myself here as somebody who's an experienced investor, but always, I'm definitely new to this business as well. I just want to speak about this product and just how much, it has really helped me, propel myself, get better with talking with sellers, actually be able to close a deal. My strategies right now have been primarily direct mail, cold calling, and cold texting. And I've found a lot of success with Real Estate IQ, especially being able to get in front of customers, have engaging conversations. And of course, I'm hoping to use all of that to build my own business and eventually retire off.
Excited to be here, and I want to say a big thank you to Real Estate IQ. They have the absolute top leads in the industry and just make investing effortless for all of us as real estate investors here in Texas and obviously everywhere else that they're focused. And I'm proud to be associated with Real Estate IQ. Love what you guys do and love how you all help investors so that we can focus on the thing that makes us the most money, which is the job of real estate investing.
I wanted to jump on this morning and give a shout out to Real Estate IQ. I began my journey with them a few years ago, just using some of the more basic products, the off-market leads. And since then, growing and visiting and talking with not only Steve, but other people who are involved with Real Estate IQ, I've had the opportunity to actually not only be a client, but I also became an investor with them. And that is one of the beauties of being able to be part of Real Estate IQ, is it gives you the opportunity to grow as an investor, especially in real estate.
Good morning, everybody. We're gonna go over a really cool topic today. One thing I notice amongst investors and buyers is sometimes, if we don't know what numbers to look at and how to really truly analyze the deal, it's hard to invest with confidence. It's hard to, look at deals with confidence, right? Which ones are worth investing, which ones are worth looking into more, and which are just like bad deals. I shouldn't waste any time. So we're gonna spend some time talking over that topic today. We're gonna get this recorded also. Now, before that, let's just do a quick introduction and go over the market update. All right, so if you haven't done so already, you should certainly scan this QR code and get to this website, right? So we have a daily refresh of real estate investment related news and how it's going to affect us as investors and buyers, maybe even sellers, right? If we're depending on our exit strategy, just whatever that affects the housing market. And this is refreshed pretty much daily. And in fact, we get a lot of our market updates from this aggregation, right? So technology is so great, it's pulling all this for us. So if you join here, you're gonna see a lot of well-curated content that are very useful for what we do. Okay, we also have a deal desk. Okay, these are the deals that are currently in inventory, either with us or with our deal partners. And so you will find a lot of interesting deals there. So if we understand how to analyze deals, you can actually use these deals as kind of part of your practice for your analysis, and then just get a lot of practice and gain your confidence in the deal analysis. So very cool stuff. In fact, there are some good deals here. And Real Estate IQ, remains the go-to place for downloading and getting education classes and everything else. So certainly a really good resource to stay on top of. All right, we're gonna go and dive into the content that we have prepared for you today. First of all, let me X out this tab. We don't offer investment, financial, or legal advice. All this is educational purposes only, right? And we show cases, and results are case by case. There are really good deals in some cases, and there are some really bad deals in some cases. It's all depends on the deal itself and how we move the deals. And so, I guess always do a due diligence. I highly recommend it. It doesn't matter who brings you the deal, how much you trust a person on the deal. I think understanding the due diligence, and then we become a much more intelligent buyer and intelligent investor. Okay, so a couple of market updates. This is very interesting stuff. So affordability is continually taking a hit, right? The interest rate stays high. Historically, it's not that high because we're not looking at 18%, close to 20% interest like back in the 80s. But even at the interest rate that we're at right now, between 6 and 7%, that's still very high. We were just running a quick calculation for I think for like a $500,000 house at 3% versus 6%, the loan payment is off by $900. Can you imagine how much what we can do with an extra $900? And the continued heightened interest is continually putting a dent in our affordability. The new housing bill is supposed to continue to address that as it gets adopted by the local governments and becomes policies. And we continue to look forward to that. In fact, our group, we are trying to jump into that and kind of get ahead of the game. We already kind of went over what the Housing Act is and what are the type of housing that are incentivized, right? They're incentivizing investment. So we want to stay on top of that. But affordability continues to be a big issue as liquidity continues to dry up with the high interest rate in the a lot of parts of our economy, and certainly housing is affected. So what does that mean, right? That means that as buyers, it's a buyer's market. Let's face it. The most houses, you have the power to get the seller to pay for all closing costs, right? For buying and selling, and for retail buyers is what I mean. And really good news for buyers. If you're a seller, not very good news. We have extremely motivated sellers that we encounter because they're just not as big of a market for them. It's not like 5 years ago when everyone's trying to buy and no one wants to sell, and it was a big seller's market. So a lot of kind of ups and downs in the kind of near term so far, and I think we'll kind of continue to see that. It's very interesting to continue to see this ripple effect, from the COVID and how it affects our economy. Okay, so U.S. new single-family homes sale has fallen 10.5%, and the median home price for new homes has dropped to just a little bit under 400,000. Just nationally. Only 5.2% of consumers are saying that they plan to buy a home within the next 6 months. And that's the weakest in the past 5 years. So very interesting stuff. Again, for investors, that's a really good time to buy and hold a property if we have liquidity. And for sellers, not so good of a news. And remember, if the number makes sense for you to hold a property and you're holding it through this time, right, and you're accumulating your portfolio, this is the time to really do that. You're gonna come out ahead. Every time I think we see a dip like this in terms of affordability and having very motivated sellers, those that are in the position to buy are in really good shape. You just got to take action. All right, the United States economy continues to grow. It's just at a slowing pace. We're looking at the reported GDP growth of 1.5%. These are the things that we really should be looking at, right? So look at the national economy doesn't really affect our local housing market as much. So even like these numbers that we're looking at, it's good to look at the national numbers because it's easy to find. But it's really good to dive into your local market that you're looking into investing and really look at these criteria. Employment, right? Are there new jobs happening? What is the median income? Because for me to provide housing as an investor, I want to have a good product and I need to price it in a place where it's affordable for the folks with that income. So we look at the median income of the area, look at the mortgage delinquency, look at inventory and local prices. Okay. Now, because of the affordability and lowering demand, I think that's probably the key here. Housing construction has dropped. We're still seeing housing permits, right? Housing permits, as builders get the permit, it doesn't mean that they're going to start building, but they're getting the permit. So that's kind of the signal before we have the build starting, and then that's a signal of having new houses hitting the market. So we're seeing permits are increasing, increased 5% actually. So people are kind of waiting. The builders are waiting in the sideline, and then they're not starting the housing as much. So affordability, right? The demand of housing is continually kind of adding pressure in the market, and that's not a great thing, right? Because at the end of the day, people need housing. And whether they're going to rent or they're going to buy. So housing continues to be that bottleneck of a lot of markets, actually, because we have seen a lot of a couple of things. We have been seeing that the supply of housing has been going down and kind of behind the demand for many years. And so, I think that continues to be the issue, right? Which is why we're seeing the price of the housing. At least one factor is driving that price up. But the question is, can we bring more supply that are affordable to the housing market? And I think that's where a lot of the opportunity is gonna be at, and we're looking really closely. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, speaking for a couple of additional items of concern, credit card delinquency continues to surge. We're seeing 90+ day delinquency has gone up to 12.8%, and we haven't seen that since the Great Recession. What I see on this is that it's also an indication of the stress on the economy, right? And look, if you're behind on credit cards, how many people are going to be behind on their housing payments and rents and all that? So certainly a stress signal on the folks that on the affordability side. So again, I see this, all of these signs are kind of pointing towards, economy is not doing fantastic, right? Anecdotally, we believe it's a stagflation. Everything is getting higher, getting more expensive, and there's not a lot of movement in the economy, as I kind of chat with the folks in the real estate industry. Opportunity for buyers, sellers is tough. If you're selling, look at look closer to the affordability kind of price range. That's how I read it. Okay. All right, so this is all we got here prepared for you. I want to now switch to our what do we call this? Our camera, and we're gonna just talk about the multiple numbers, the 7 numbers that are important for analyzing a deal with confidence, right? We want to have that confidence. When we see a deal, if we know it's a good deal, I do enough intelligence, I can pull the trigger. Bam. If I wait and it's a good deal, guess what? It's not gonna last, right? All the good deals gets taken up. So we want to be in a position where we know exactly what we're looking for, and we know what kind of exit strategy we're going for, and how to handle the deal, right? When I see the numbers, I already kind of know my action plan, right? So it's kind of part of our push for having actionable intelligence for the housing industry. Okay, so let's talk about the key numbers. Okay, the first one, make sure we can read it, is called ARV, after repair value. Okay, that's very important. So what that means is what's the market value when it's move-in ready. Okay. Now there's for nuance, for those that are curious more about nuance, we're gonna kind of stay on the kind of black and white as much as possible, but we're gonna also look a little bit of nuance for those who appreciate nuance. What is move-in ready? Move-in ready can be a rent-ready house. It can be nicely decorated. So that's gonna also affect what if it's just rent-ready, then this number is not as good. If we're talking about renovated, then the after repair value tends to be a little bit higher, right? It's just the condition of the house. So that's a nuance we will learn to appreciate over time. Okay, so after repair value, That's something that we want to figure out. Now, how do we get this? Well, Zestimate is pretty good now. For a first pass, getting it from Zestimate is to see if a deal is worth like looking deeper at. That's where I would go. You can just go online, go on Zillow, go on Redfin, go on Realtor.com, and then you can, they have their own estimate. And if I really want to, I take an average of the three, and that's good enough for kind of first pass. Okay, so I want the Zestimate. If I want to dig a little bit deeper, I go, wow, this looks like a pretty good deal. Let me run a CMA. What that means is a comparative market analysis. Some people may call it comps, right? So if I want to go a little bit deeper, I'm gonna go, well, what are all the sold properties and what are the prices? Sold properties and at what price? So if I figure out, what the nearby houses are selling for in the area recently, then I'm gonna know how much the house I can sell for, and also what condition it is. Okay, so this is a critical skill set for a real estate agent or an investor, right? You want to get really good at this, so you can go with confidence. In the beginning, you can start with a Zestimate, and then kind of start getting good at the CMA. All right, so if I run all that, then I can figure out my ARV. Okay, so that's the first one. If you have questions, let me know. If you're not familiar with the terms, let me know. But this is what we do. Okay, so let me give an example. An example for a comp is, let's say I have this house that I have comp number 1, comp number 2, and there are different ways to do this, but in general, I'm gonna use the price per square footage. So let's say I have one house that is like right next door, about the same size, and it was selling for, say, 210 per square feet. In fact, I actually have a property here, where we go, wow, this house that they're asking for is way above the comps. Crazy. Okay, anyway, second one, let's say it's 250, okay, which is a little bit outlier. And then another one, 208 per square feet. Well, 3 comps is probably good enough if they are really good comps. And then what I want to do, then I know that the house, the after repair value, is going to be, say the house is 2,000 square feet. Then it's 2,000 times the average of these 3. And then we'll get a number. So I need my calculator now. I cannot do math so well anymore. Okay, 210 plus 250 plus 208. Average of that is 222 times 2,000. Okay, so oops. Uh-oh. Let's see. 222. Okay. 222 times 2,000. So we're talking about around 445,000-ish is the ARV. Okay. That's a very important number. ARV, after repair value. Because if I know how much I can sell it for, then I can calculate my profit, right? If I want to buy low and sell high, this is how much I can sell it at. Okay. So we'll have that saved. Okay, the second number is repair cost. Okay. If you buy a house and it's already move-in ready, great, right? It could be still be a good deal if we make it a rental, if the cash flow works. But usually, if the house is kind of move-in ready, we cannot acquire at a good price. So just kind of having some ideas of how we do repairs is a good idea. And for now, for simplicity, we're just gonna remember these three items: $15 per square feet, 30 per square feet, and 50 per square feet. And we are simplifying. When I need to dig into the numbers more and do my due diligence, I'm gonna need to refine this. But for now, just to see if a deal is good, these three numbers is our best friend. So you can kind of remember this, and I think it has not changed that much. Some people may argue, we need to increase the number a little bit, but just for simplicity, right? 15, 30, and 50 per square feet. So here, this one is a light rehab. So usually it would be applicable if it's a cosmetic upgrade. You paint the wall, change out the carpet, something very easy. $30 is mid-grade. And then 50 is high-end. And I would decide which one to use by looking at the comps. If the comps look like, wow, they have really nice upgrades and everything, okay, I'm going to use $50 per square feet. If it has just kind of middle of the road interior, I'm going to use 30. Okay, so this is a quick rule of thumb. We can dive into each item more, and that's another class. But we don't need to do that to see if a deal is worth looking at, right? Remember, we're scanning all the deals right now. Okay, second number is the repair cost. That's good enough. Okay, so the example that I had, 2,000 square feet, right? So at $50 per square feet, we're gonna looking at 30K. 30, 90K. Wait, am I doing my math right? 60K. 50. Okay, so this is, usually it's a big rehab project, right? $50 per square feet. That's gonna give us 100K. 100K to fix it. Okay. For those who appreciate nuance, your local number can be a little bit different, right? Your labor and all that, right? At the end of the day, if you're gonna fix a house, I want labor and material, and that takes experience. You need to work with someone that already has the experience to learn from them. I think is the easiest ways to learn this. Until then, quick rule of thumb is good enough for this phase. Okay, second, repair cost. Any question? Yeah. Ask me. Okay, the third number is holding cost. Okay, so for holding cost, a couple of big items is what we call PITI. What is it? Principal, interest, taxes, insurance. Okay, these are very important numbers to know. So that's your monthly payment to keep the house. If you are paying everything in cash, you don't have to pay principal or interest, but you still need taxes and insurance. There's no escape. Okay, so it's called PITI. If you are a homeowner, you should know. If you don't know, you know. Now you know. Okay, principal, interest, tax, payment, taxes, insurance. I need to know this. We also have, if there's an HOA, the HOA fee, if applicable. It's usually a monthly cost and annual cost. And then maintenance. I think maintenance is more applicable if it's a rental, right? Because if you're gonna rehab a house, like what's the there's not like you're already gonna fix everything up, so the maintenance is applicable. I have some typos here. I apologize. Applicable. Okay, if it's a rental. But this is what we want. It's the utilities, right? Because I'm fixing the house, I'm working on a project. I need utilities. I need electricity. I need water, and I need probably landscaping, if applicable. So, but the biggest number is here, right? Utility, I can probably estimate, just put some number. It's not gonna throw me off by too much. HOA, if I already know. Okay, if we have this, great. If I don't, PITI HOA is probably good enough for me to write for a first pass. Okay, so your holding cost is how long is this project? You know, let's say it's 6 months times the monthly, or it could be 8 months or 12 months. Okay, if it's so you know, you kind of need to know how many months, how long is it gonna take, and then if you're gonna sell it, how long is it gonna stay on the market? You're also gonna need to look into that. But I want to know the holding cost. Okay, cool. So we talked about these three. Okay, I'm gonna just summarize because the fourth number has to do with all of these. I want my ARV, after repair value, which is looking at the market, how much a similar house that's already fixed up, how much it's gonna be worth. The second one is repair cost, which is how much does it cost to fix it up to look like the comps, right? The comparables in the area. And then the holding cost, which is how long, you know, what is it gonna take to hold it, and how during the length of my project. So monthly holding costs, I guess. So an example, right? Well, we just need to find these numbers that add up. Okay, number 4 is my expected profits. Okay, I say profits. If you tend to keep it, you know, we can call it equity. So what is the profit? Well, the profit is the ARV, after repair value, minus our purchase price, minus my repairs, minus my holding costs. So in the example that we have, let's say our ARV is 445,000. The purchase price is, say, 300,000. Repair, let's say mid-grade, 60,000. And if a holding cost, let's just throw a number there. Let's say, you know, 6 months, 3K a month. Okay, so let's say 6 is 18,000. Okay, 6 months times, let's just say 3K. Well, if we buy it at 300K, right, all these numbers, then we're gonna whip out our calculator here. Cannot do complex math anymore. Okay, so that's gonna put us at $67,000 profit. Okay. The caveat, the folks that appreciate nuance is if I borrow the money, then I'll have interest costs and financing cost in there. Okay. But I want to know my profit. Okay. So if I have financing costs, it's gonna be a little bit lower. But now I know, right? And then what's my profit margin? Let's say I make 67,000 divided by 440. Well, I'm only going in here. 360, 18. 378. So we have about, if I put all this money in, I make 17%. But it's how we find, the return is going to be calculated by how we finance it. But at least I know the rough number. Okay. Fourth number, profit. With caveats, the number can be a little more complicated when we look at the closing sheets and stuff. Okay. Next, number 5 is I need the monthly rent because I want to know if it could be a good deal if I rent it out. So the monthly rent would be you do a you guessed it, it's you do a rental comp, rental CMA or rental comp. Again, you look at like, oh, this house is about 1,800. Another one is 1,900. Another one is 1,700. 3 is quite good enough. And then you take the average of those. Or you can do the price per square footage. 3,000 square feet times, let's say one is 0.9. I got one that's 1.01. I got one is 1.2. So you could take the average of the actual rent or do this price per square footage method. Usually they're pretty close. So either way, right? This one, the average is 1,800. And then this one, the average, I'm creating math that I need a little more help to do. 0.9 plus 1.01 plus 1.2. Okay, 3.11 divided by 3. So I got 2,000 times 1.04, let's say. So then it's going to put us to like 2,080 per month. Okay, there's a little bit of discrepancy, so I'm just aware that there's a range. That's okay. Investment is about uncertainty. We got to be willing to live with uncertainty. Okay. Next is the monthly cash flow. If I rent it out, how much cash flow do I get? Well, I'm gonna want to know my monthly rent, which let's say I'm conservative. I'm gonna use 1,800 a month. All right, and then our holding cost. Well, in our last example, I put holding cost at 3,000, right, monthly. Well, now I'm gonna have negative 1,200 a month. So this would be an example where I don't want to hold the property. Like I don't want to rent it out because I'm gonna lose money every month. This is an example. So I go, well, if I don't want to hold, I don't want to flip. Well, it's probably not a good deal. So I pass. Or it gives a really good cash flow. Let's say my monthly cost is only 1,000. Then it's 800 per month. That's a really good one. Anything at more than $500 a month is pretty good. Okay, last number. So the first three numbers was more for, excuse me, first four numbers is for if I want to flip it. What kind of profit am I looking at? These numbers I am gonna look at. I'm looking at a rental. As a rental, what are my benefits? What's my monthly cash flow? What kind of rent am I getting? And then, what are some potential upsides? So I want to know. So a couple of potential upsides would be, an example would be principal pay down, right? I'm calculating that as kind of part of my expense on a monthly to be part of the holding cost. But every month I'm paying down the principal. I am building up my equity. So that goes into my virtual pocket. So that's a benefit for me. The mortgage interest depends on your tax situation. Usually you can write off. And again, you really want to learn this, I would talk to a tax professional to see what that looks like to you. I don't want to dive too deeply into this if I'm just looking at a deal for the first time, but I just kind of take mental note of like, okay, these are some additional things that are good for me. And then if you're holding a property, you can also do depreciation. Again, that's talk to a professional. And then, well, speaking of upsides, is there appreciation in the area? That's a little bit harder to gauge. What we like to do is to kind of drive around the area. I think if I study the economy, local economy a little bit, I will appreciate the appreciation, right? Value, property appreciation. It's a little more of a judgment call, right? It's more of an art than a science when it comes to this one. But I know, principal pay down is good because you're building up equity. So those are the things that we will look at. 7 items. Let's see. I think the next step would be, looking at like some real life example, right? And then having a worksheet to do that. We'll prepare that for our next talks. But these are the 7 numbers. I hope you learned something today. To recap, the first 4 numbers is for, say, a flip, the after repair value, the holding cost, repair costs, holding costs, and the profit. Through this, I can kind of generate a little bit of what my return looks like. And if you're familiar with the 70% rule, you would find that that plays really well into this. Right? You can calculate all that. Then the second one is the for rental. As a potential exit, I want monthly rent. I want my cash flow, which is calculated by subtracting the holding cost. And then just want to be aware of the upsides. Okay. Aware of the upsides. These are a little bit harder to kind of figure out because everybody have different tax situations. It's hard to just there's no formula for these two. There's some formula, but maybe it doesn't apply to you. And then the principal pay down you can count on. And then property appreciation, if you know the area, you can probably make a good judgment on that. So these are potential upsides. Okay, next week we're gonna talk more about more detail, right? So some real life examples on this one, and then we're also gonna look at subject to and how we would analyze the subject to property. For those that are new to the subject to concept, what it does is it allows you to take on the payment that the original owner has in place. The advantage is that you can, your monthly payment, right? It's going to be really good. Your holding costs here, because it's got, say it has good interest. Your monthly payment is going to be a little bit better. And what that means is your monthly cash flow can go from negative to positive if you have really good interest rate. So usually it's an advantage to do that for somebody that don't have a lot of equity but are willing to do a sub 2. You can basically take that over, and because of the favorable payment terms and everything, you can make a good cash flow from the property. So we're gonna look at that a little more nuanced and kind of study that a little more. Some more kind of case studies and real examples, and I think that's a really good concept, right? Because we want to know what's a good deal, what's not a good deal, and then you can start using the deal desk to analyze the deal and go like, wow, that's a good deal. That may not be a good deal, and get some practice and some example to get really good. Right. So again, we're trying to get to a point where we can analyze deals with confidence, and so practice, right? Understanding how to do it, and then practice is the name of the game. Okay, that's all I got for you. Appreciate you guys, tuning in, and hope you learned something. If you have questions, let us know, and see you all next week.